that will be connected with the next session on travels today, and that will be a session whereby experience of a couple of participants are going to be presented. Please come all to the rostrum. I understand that you will be speaking one after each other. Is that correct? Good. Take this, well, you can take this seat while you are over there. How many? 2, 3? It's Mrs. Keulers, Mr. Barbas, Mr. Minderhoud, and Mrs. Deegen. Together you have 35 minutes, so please share it amongst yourselves. I will just monitor from behind.
Good afternoon. My name is Max Smits. I'm trail coordinator of the Sultans Trail, and in that respect responsible for the actual walking trail, not the cycling trail. And today we have a few users of the trail for you in 3 short sessions. The first one to start with is Hugo Barbas, who walked in Serbia in 2013, even before the Sultans Trail was ever developed in Serbia. And when I got the mission to develop the trail there, I gratefully used his tracks as a head start of what become the hiking trail in Serbia at the moment. So Hugo, tell us about your experiences.
Thank you, Max. I have 2 small stories for you, and at the end some conclusions. But first, why did we walk? We were both, Helene and I, were this one. No? Yeah, this was the choice. After our retirement, Helene retired from a choir, I retired from a job. Should we do this or should we do this? Well, the reason I stand here is that we took this choice. So we left from Amersfoort, and in 6 months we reached Istanbul.
It seems you left from Rijen.
No, but I recognize Regensburg, because that is also the place we crossed in a way. Well, Austria and then Hungary, we went to the corner of Croatia, the Vukovar part, and then Serbia, Bulgaria, and the western part of Turkey. The part I would like to, this is for those who like numbers, the kilometers, not so interesting at the moment. What I would like to do is to take you with us, Helene and me, in Niš, where we were. That is the last part of Serbia. And we needed to go to the border of Bulgaria, but we didn't want to take the main road, of course. And we had a beautiful map, and the map was only showing green. And the blue spot, that was the place where we were, but if there's only green on the map, well, you can't do very much. What to do? So in the end we decided, let's go to the tourist office. In Niš, perhaps they have some map, some local map. Very nice lady in the tourist office said, no, of course we cannot help you, but go to the park. To the park? Yes, there's a chess player. Talk to the chess player. How do we find him? You'll find him. And we found a chess player. He spoke fluently German. And he said, tonight you sleep at my place in the village, 20 kilometers from here. So we walked to the village, asked around, nobody knew him. And after half an hour, well, he said, what now? And then a bus stopped, and who came out of the bus? Our chess player. And in the evening, we slept at his place, we ate at the place. I had 2 liters of beer, because that is the only way to avoid drinking raki. But he didn't accept. He said, that is for my friend tomorrow, because tomorrow you will meet with my big friend, the shepherd. And the day afterwards, you will sleep in the monastery. I know very well the abbot of the monastery. Yes, the abbot doesn't know me, but that doesn't matter. So the next day, we started walking, looking for the shepherd. And after a couple of hours, we were completely lost. Where to find a shepherd on the map that is completely green? So we sat down, and after an hour, a young boy with a huge axe came running to us. Of course, we were a bit scared, but he was the help of the shepherd. And we were taken to the camp of the shepherd. This was the boy with the axe. And you see that above him, he has a small piece of paper, and that was marked Holland. Nah, isn't that very nice? And this was the camp, so we had there, they had potatoes boiled, the garlic and the onions just came raw from the ground, were not cooked, but it was eatable. And here you see the boss, that is the shepherd, looking for the map. And 5:45 was the end of the working day. He took us to a village. I think there were 4 people living in the village, and this was our sleeping house for the night. It was a clay house with a clay floor, and we had a bulb in the ceiling, but when we went to the other room, we had to take out the bulb in order to have light in the other room. And the car was the place to have a drink in the evening with the whole village. That means 4 people. And this was above my bed, so I had to put a paper on my sleeping bag in order to keep it clean. Helene in the kitchen, preparing our evening meal. And then for the next day, we had, well, what to do. And, well, they created this map. Very important. So that was crucial for us. It started with the church in the village, and the church disappeared already 30 years ago. And then, as you see, we had to cross a reka, a river. And then immediately after the river, we should go to the right. So we did. And then we heard a lot of shouting behind us. And 3 young boys came behind us and said, "No, this is wrong, you should go to the left." But according to the map, yeah, but this is not a reka of your map. This is another reka. So it shows the fantastic confusion we were in. And, well, we had the most marvelous place. It was absolutely desolated, but from a lot of corners, people came with all their animals. And there was a sort of gathering of hundreds and of cows and horses in a field. It was splendid. We saw those people working with a wooden fork. Here you see this is a kind of wagon without wheels. We thought we were in another world. At a certain moment, we crossed a lady, and he said, "Well, do you know where you're walking now? You are walking on the road where the Turks took always our sons to Istanbul." So, to put the history in perspective. This was the best week of our whole trip. The other story I would like to share with you is about this. This is a safety whistle Helene and I both have with us. Imagine a market in Turkey, And as usual, Helene is strolling that side, I'm strolling that side. But at a certain moment, I hear the whistle. So I run towards the noise, and what do I see? Helene standing in the market, laughing. At her side, on the left, 2 Turkish ladies. At her right-hand side, 2 Turkish ladies, and all looking like that, amazed by the fact that with one whistle, she could manage to get her husband. Well, some conclusions that are important for us. The first thing is that we remember the trip so well. If you ask me, what did you do the day before yesterday or 3 days ago, I don't know anymore. I really have to think. When you ask me something about this trip, the 180 days, I have the images in front of me. I can tell you what happened. It's interesting because it is already, well, it's close to 10 years ago. It would be interesting to analyze that. Another completely different item is the warnings we got. Always when we approached a border, we got a warning. And it started in Germany. When we entered Bavaria, the day before, our host said, tomorrow you are entering Bavaria. You cannot trust those people. Be aware. And that is something that happened at every border. And imagine what happens when you cross the border. Nothing. It was as pleasant as before. Well, the trip was not the end of our marriage, as my mother-in-law had predicted. On the contrary, I think it is one of the best, if not the best thing we ever did. And that is thanks to Sadat and the whole crew of volunteers of the Sultans Trail. Thank you.
In 2013, we decided to publish this booklet about the cycling trail, because we realized Dutch people also like cycling, so do Germans, and there would be a prospect of cycling to Istanbul. And one of the early users of the cycling trail, maybe not this book, but was Chris Minderhoud. And he was joined by Odile Keulers, and they will now tell us a little bit about their experiences.
I'm Chris Minderhoud, and when I started on the Sultans Trail, I was 74 years old, which for a lot of people seems quite a bit old. This week, I noticed on Facebook that somebody who is 86 years old is traveling from Sydney to Melbourne by bike. So it's a bit old, but there are a lot more people that are much older than me and doing similar things. Now, how did I get to do this type of traveling? And then I start with my university days. I studied at the Erasmus University in Rotterdam, where we had a very famous professor called Tinbergen. I didn't follow his courses, but there were a lot of students talking about politics and about developing countries. And more or less, I ended up doing my career in developing countries, working for NGOs. The first NGO I worked for was in Turkey, in Ankara, and with a project in Tarsus and Diyarbakir. I was also playing water polo for the university, and through the water polo games, I came quite often in Istanbul, Izmir, and Adana. And I'm now talking about 1975. I enjoyed Turkey so much that I really did want to come back, and I've been coming back mainly for sailing quite often. Now, when you travel by bike, and you do that on your own, which I did the first part, in fact, from Vienna to Beograd. But for me, it was not Vienna to Beograd. It was from The Hague to Vienna, and then the year after from Vienna to the Black Sea. And then you come across Beograd. When I was in Beograd, by that time I was familiar with the Sultans Trail. Familiar because Ton Waarts asked me to take part in the auditing company, and that's how I got to know the Sultans Trail. And through the Sultans Trail, in their monthly letter, I put up a small advertisement saying, is there somebody who wants to join me in a trip from Beograd to Istanbul? And that was Odile. We had a cup of coffee together. She had never done any cycling before, but a lot of walking. And we both said, okay, let's try. And we both enjoyed the trip tremendously. Odile, you want to show some pictures and say a few words.
I will first tell my story and then...
Yeah.
Well, I will tell about why I wanted to bicycle to Istanbul and about experiences. Yes. Yeah, okay. So beter? Okay, yeah. And after that, we will tell more about highlights of the trail based on photos. It was about 2006 when I decided to walk to Istanbul. At that moment, I was walking from the Dutch coast to the German border and discovered this pathway was part of the European pathway from Southwest Ireland to Istanbul. In 1988, I was in Istanbul and wanted to go to Istanbul again. So I wondered, how nice would it be to walk all that distance? Every year since 2007, I walked with a small group a stage of the path from Southwest Ireland to Vienna during 10 years. In 2016, I became member of Sultanstrail for the second half of my intended trajectory for Vienna to Istanbul. Then I realized that walking with the Sultanstrail didn't fit in my personal planning. I decided that cycling could be a good alternative to get to Istanbul. The call of Christiaan in Sultanstrail newsletter came just at the right time. In 2019, the time had come and Christiaan and I cycled from Belgrade to Istanbul. The trail from Vienna to Belgrade is for the next time. To my surprise, I discovered how much I like trail cycling, and especially next to walking. Bicycling is comfortable for greater distances. We cycled together, we made a division of labor and shared our experiences. Christiaan organized the route, partly with the help of the TomTom, and he wrote blogs for family and friends. And I was photographer on the go and contributed to the blogs in this way. We cycled through 4 countries, Czech Republic, Bulgaria, a very small part of northern Greece, and Turkey. In the 4 countries, we experienced different spheres. It's interesting to see and discuss the changes in culture, landscapes with their farms, towns and villages, churches and mosques. Often our discussions were also related to the history and political developments in these countries and compared to the Dutch situation. We visited major cities as Sofia, Plovdiv, Edirne and Istanbul more intensively, including museums. We were pleasantly surprised by the city of Edirne, the formerly capital of Turkey. It's a small city and we loved it very, very much. almost all Turkish tourists, a beautiful Ottoman city center, and especially a beautiful skyline because of the many minarets hill upward. And finally, the beautiful metropolis of Istanbul, a large multicultural city with a variety of neighborhoods from hippie to strict Islamic to very touristic, with beautiful buildings and beautiful islands in the Sea of Marmaris. The borders were a different story. We were warned that passing the borders into Greece and into Turkey can take a whole day. Where entire traffic jams of cars had been waiting for hours, we as cyclists got all the respect and were allowed to proceed with priority. We didn't have to wait for the windows to be cleaned of the Bulgarian-Greek border office, nor did we have to wait for the digital system to be in order again at the Greek-Turkish border office. Overall, on this trail, in all these countries, a lot of cobblestones on the roads. Sometimes even more difficult because they were further apart. There were many climbers and descents on the route. Of course, mind the potholes. And above all, we experienced kindness, hospitality, and safety. Nice to meet people during the trail, on the fields, in the villages. We saw about 4 bikers during our trail. One was a young Japanese biker. Cars and trucks gave enough space to us as bikers. And finally, we will thank Sedat and Iris for just in case they were always available for an advice. Next trail will go to Kodia.
The first picture is just a cycle repair shop in Beograd. You do your best to have everything in order when you leave, and then in the first 10 or 15 kilometers you find out there are a few things missing. So that's the first one. A nice house, nothing special. This was a crop, and I still don't know the name. It's a flower used for perfume. I'd never seen it before. A small church, and Odile has got a few hundred churches. She likes to make a picture of each and every church on the way. This was the track, at least I thought it was a road, but both the TomTom and the book gave us a bit of a wrong impression where we were. Nothing special. Here are dogs, and we were quite often very afraid of dogs. When you're cycling, they come, sometimes they attack you. So lots of people that travel by bike have pepper spray with them. Yeah, the road was blocked by some cows. Another church. It used to be a church, now it's a mosque. This is quite special. It's a butchery, but it used to be a Jewish center. And this is a description of the Jewish center. In Bulgaria, during the Second World War and before, it was a kingdom. And because of the king, very few Jews were taken to concentration camps. But a lot of Jews left after the war and went to Israel. So there are quite a few empty buildings. Just a picture of the fields. This is in Deegen. It's a synagogue. It was beautifully restored. The bridge in Deegen. We both loved Deegen, and this is the view from our hotel, the rooftop. There was a caravanserai being reconstructed. And here in Deegen, and again in Deegen, a mosque. And the thing is here, this one is different from this one. You see the... Huh? Yeah. So these are a few of the pictures that basically Odile took while we were traveling.
You may have noticed that cycling the Sultans Trail can be part of a larger story. And I think Melanie Deegen has a good example of that, and she will take you along for the next 10 minutes.
I want to stand in front of you because it's more my way of communicating more closely to the audience. Yes, on the bike to the east. 2 years ago, actually the 1st of September 2020, in COVID time, I decided to get on the bike and to go to the east. I wanted to go to Central Asia, from Utrecht to Central Asia. And I have had COVID before. It was in the beginning, in March 2020. And I was quite ill, a few weeks, maybe a few months, because I still had some coughings and I couldn't go out when with that coughing. So it was a good time to overthink things and to arrange things. And I felt protected by having COVID already. So I get on the bike. I have arranged a sabbatical year with my work. So the plan was to go 1 year on the bike. And during that year, I extended it with another half year. So in totally, I was away for 1.5 years. And maybe some people here in the audience have read my newsletters, monthly, not in the beginning, but I got in contact with Tine, and she said, well, not so many people are traveling. People like to read some stories about cycling, so I did it. I took from Utrecht the Limes route, and that's the old Roman borders, frontiers from. It's a route from Katwijk aan Zee to Constanța in Romania. And I did it until Vienna, because the Sultans Trail is from Vienna to Istanbul. And as a Turkolog, I felt almost obliged to take the Sultans Trail. And during that time, I got in contact with Iris and Sedat, and they sent me online the cycling Sultans Trail. So I followed the navigation. It was a nice companion to follow the red arrow. So the Sultans Trail from Vienna to Istanbul. My pictures are about that piece. The other, I have made hundreds, maybe thousands of pictures. But I went from Istanbul to Antalya, and then the borders were closed. So I took the plane to Kyrgyzstan, and then Uzbekistan, back to Turkey, south of Turkey, Black Sea coast, Georgia, Armenia, and back to Turkey again. There were some impossibilities of getting more east or more southwards, but I did this. The Sultans Trail begins or ends, how do you see it, in Vienna, in the Stephanus Church, and I have a picture of that, but I like this one more, and it ends in Istanbul with Sultan Süleyman tomb, but I like this place with a view of the Bosphorus. It's part of the Topkapı Saray. Here you see both pictures of the routes. First is the sign of the Limes route, and second, the Sultans Trail. And partly, the Limes route is also from, in Vienna, both of the routes are together apart. So if you travel that by bike, you can see this. And this is my bike, a Santos bike, 26-inch. And I bought this bike 5 years ago when I wanted to cycle in Mongolia. I cycled there for 3 months. And this is a very steady bike. And the tires of the wheels are 26-inch because you can handle it very quickly. So it's a nice companion, my bike. And here are some pictures of the roads. It's very different. Sometimes it's new asphalt, sometimes old asphalt, sometimes with holes. Well, this is just in the field. And of course, sometimes it's hilly. Not really in the mountains, at that place. And this is also a possibility that you can find this. Oh. I have 6 bags. I'm sorry. 6 bags, 2 on both sides behind and 1 on top of it, and 2 in the front. Oh, nee, dat hoeft niet. Nee, dat lukt. Oké, ja, is goed. Ja. And 1 handlebar bag. And that was enough for all that time. Actually, I had too much things. So you can even cycle with less things. This was also good cycling, but mind you, there was also the fact that it was good weather. When it's raining hard, this can be a problem. When the mud gets stuck between the wheels. And oh yes, I made a lot of pictures of beautiful nature. I enjoyed it, the beautiful nature. But what is also part of the reality is that there is a lot of garbage. And in Holland, we have a good system of recycling, getting away of the garbage. But people, I don't know, maybe they are just lazy. I don't know, or maybe the capacities are not there. But I saw a lot of garbage on the road, and I thought it's more honest to make pictures also of that, not only of beautiful nature, but this is also part of reality. So when I took a picture there, it was raining and it was cold at that time. A little dog came, and maybe you cannot see it very well now, but the dog was really a puppy, a small dog. And he was shivering, and I looked and if there was maybe a mother dog or other dogs, but I couldn't hear, I couldn't see anything. And I gave him some bread. Don't do that, because I knew it, because when you do that, they will follow you. But I felt pity. And I gave another piece of bread, and I thought, well, I have to cycle hard and don't look behind. And after 1 kilometer, I looked behind, and a little dog was following me. And that happened several times. And after a few kilometers, I thought, well, that little dog must be exhausted. I will take him with me. So I emptied 1 bag and I put a towel on him. And he was so shivering and cold and wet. And it felt very good to cycle with a dog in the bag. But I had also a problem from what can I do with the dog? I was expected by someone, and so I thought I cannot come there with a dog. So finally, I saw a house with an owner and a few dogs, and I asked him if he wanted to accept the dog, and he did. So it was a good decision. But after that, I didn't look the dogs in the eyes anymore, because you feel so easily pity for the dogs. And I'm not afraid of dogs. I don't have a whistle. I don't have a pepper spray. My solution is, and I want to give that as advice to other people. when they bark, when they run to you, just stop. Don't cycle, just stop and talk to them. And all the dogs have the same reaction. They freeze and they go back. You need maybe some courage to do that with big shepherd dogs, and of course, it's not good to cross when you see a shepherd dog to cross the sheep herd, a flock, because of course they are protecting that. But really, that's a good solution. Instead of throwing stones. I did in Mongolia. People said to me, oh, you have to throw stones. So I collected some stones in my handlebar bag, but my telephone got scratched with the stone. So, and it was heavy, of course, so I get rid of it. Yes. Oh, really? Okay. Some pictures of how I spend the night. This is in grape vineyard, in the vineyard. And mostly it was possible to find a good place to sleep. This is in the morning with ice. And it is in somebody else's house. I used warm showers. It's an app like couch surfing. And it's worldwide that you can be a guest in someone's house, another cyclist. And some people, like here, gave me the key. Oh, you can come in my house. I will go down to the village and you can sleep. But his bed was too dirty, so I pointed my tent in this. And here's some pictures of. This is also the same pictures of the Bak fortress on that picture there. And a lot of traces of Turkish baths, hammam. And this is the last one, a wild tulip. Mehmet Tutuncu was talking about the tulips, and of course that's a symbol of Holland. The tulips comes from Holland, from Turkey, but in Central Asia the wild tulips still are, and that was a good goal to go to in the early springtime in 2021. Thank you. Okay.
Before you go, thank you very much, because it's quite different but lively, and we had the discussion on the surroundings. Now we have the discussion on the physical practice, and you did show us a lot about your own difficulties, about the landscape, about the heritage, in particular the physical heritage. Can you tell us also something about your experience with people?
Yes, I want
in particular also related to what was said this morning. If you meet people, then you meet also relations, cultural relations, cultural conflicts, views. No, in particular, because of that impact of the discussion this morning, could one or two of you, not all of you, because that's too late, too long, say something
I would
about
like
that?
to add something because I forgot it, and it is the same subject. When you see my pictures, you think, "Oh, didn't she met people?" I met a lot of people. They are not on the pictures because when you see pictures, all the attention goes to that. From what is the relationship and the clothes and everything. But I had only good experiences with people. And to be honest, I had a kind of prejudice when I entered Serbia because of all the things of the war. But all the people were very kind and hospital.
Now, people are kind,
Healthy.
but they
Yes.
also have views. And did they express views on their own society or on other societies with you? So it is not so much the individual personal relationship, which I'm asking for, but the general views of people with regard to their and other societies.
Oh, I agree with the former speaker that there were a lot of warnings in the border areas. So beware of the other side, but on both sides.
And did they also, because we had a discussion on the relation with the rest of Europe. Huh? Now, you were seen as very European, huh? Western European. So did that raise also questions on the relations between the peoples of that particular area and Western Europe? So the cultural relations with your own background.
Just a small story. Before I showed you a picture that we were in the middle of nowhere, and this happens a bit more often. Once we took a left turn, should have taken probably a right turn or go straight through, and after 20 kilometers we said, we hear the highway, because we were supposed to have a hotel close to the highway. It wasn't the highway, and we were about 20 kilometers off the road in the wrong direction. We had to talk to the village. There was one boy, about 15 years old, who was on holidays, who with his mother lived in Germany. And he said, wait, I asked my uncle, who is the owner of the local inn and also the shop. And then he came back, he said, you have to wait a bit till he closes the shop, and then he will bring you to the hotel with his small little van. Now, this man, what you never expect in a village like that, had been employed in the capital, Belgrade, selling in foreign markets medicines. I spoke good English. He said, I didn't like the life in the big city. I came here for hunting, and now I've taken the choice of living here, joining the village life, and live a simple life. And for me, that is an example that people all over the world are aiming for a more simple life, going away from what we would call the rat race. And they really appreciate that you can talk to them and relate to them in that aspect as well.
Thank you. Thank you for making these presentations and showing us your experience. Please